Hello and welcome to Cinnabar Collectibles, and today we're going to be looking at N's Zoroark, a brand new deck from Journey Together. Now this deck came third place at the special event in Seville, and it was piloted by Harvey Scheinman. Now this is a great versatile deck, because Zoroark EX is a very versatile Pokemon that allows you to draw more cards, as well as being able to use any of the attacks from your N's Pokemon, which means that it's very useful in many situations. So let's get straight into the video. First of all, you'll need 4 N Zoroark. Then you'll need 4 copies of N Zoroark EX, with that amazing trade ability. By discarding a card from your hand, you can then draw 2 cards. And the attack Night Joker for 2 energies lets you choose a benched N's Pokemon and use that attack. Then you'll need 3 copies of N's Darumaka. Then you'll need 2 copies of N's Darmanitan. For 2 energy, you can use its Backdraft attack. This attack does 30 damage for each basic card in your opponent's discard pile. Or you can use for 3 energy, Flame Body Cannon. Discard all energy from this Pokemon, and this attack also does 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now what's really useful again in this deck is N Zoroark EX can use the Flame Body Cannon for just 2 energy. Then you'll need 1 copy of N's Reshiram. For 1 fire and 1 lightning, you can use Powerful Rage. This attack does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Or for 4 energy, you can use Virtuous Flame for 170 damage. But again, if this is on the bench, N Zoroark can use that attack for just 2 energy. Then we'll be using Pheasantipede EX for that amazing Flip the Script ability. Once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. Then we've got the amazing Blood Moon Ursaluna EX with its Season Skill ability. For each prize your Pokemon has taken, the attack of Blood Moon goes down by 1. So if they've taken 4 prizes, Blood Moon will only cost you 1 energy, which means 1 energy you can do 240 damage. You want to be using Blood Moon Ursaluna EX near the end of the game to pick up those final last KOs. Then we'll be running 1 Budew with its amazing Itchy Pollen attack. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. Again, this helps you slow down the game, so your opponent can't use item cards, but you can. So you can then, if you started off quite poorly, go into Budew, Itchy Pollen them, so then they can't use any items, hopefully can't use rare candies, can't get to Dragapults or into Charizards, which buys you a couple of turns to let you set up your board. Get your N's Reshiram down, get your Darmanitans evolved, and get your N Zoroark into position. Then we'll be running 1 Cleffa with its amazing Grasping Draw, which lets you draw cards until you have 7 in your hand. And that free retreat is really useful, so you can use it and then retreat on your next turn straight to N Zoroark. And we'll be using 1 Munkidori with its amazing Adrenabrain ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has any Darkness energy attached to it, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Maybe hoping to take some KOs on the bench, or weakening their active Pokemon so N Zoroark can knock them out. Now we're going to move on to the 33 trainer cards we'll need. We'll need 4 copies of Professor's Research so we can discard our hand and draw 7, 4 Ionos to help us disrupt our opponent's hand, 2 copies of Boss's Orders so that we can gust up one of our opponent's Pokemon to take the knockout, 1 copy of Professor Churro's Scenario, which allows us to put one of our Pokemon in play back into our hand. But if we do that, we have to discard all energy attached to it. Then we're using 3 Ultra Ball, so we can discard 2 cards from our hand to search for a Pokemon. We're going to use 3 copies of Nest Ball to get some of our basic Pokemon out. We're going to be running 3 copies of Buddy Buddy Poffin instead of 4, because we're going to be using that for the N Zoroark, the Budew and the Cleffa, but we can't use it on Darumaka. We're then going to be using 3 copies of N's PP Up, which allows us to attach a basic energy card from our discard pile to one of our benched N's Pokemon. Which means that when we're using Ultra Ball or we're using Professor's Research, we don't really mind discarding our energy, because by using N's PP Up, we can then get it out of the discard straight out to one of our bench Pokemon, giving us an extra energy attachment for that turn as well. Then we're going to be using 2 copies of Counter Catcher, which if we're behind on prizes, we can use to gust up one of our opponent's Pokemon. 1 copy of the A-Spec Prime Catcher. We have to swap our active Pokemon, but then we can also swap our opponents as well. Really useful if you get stuck in the active. 1 copy of Super Rod, so we can shuffle back into our deck. 3 in any combination of Pokemon or energy. 1 copy of Night Stretcher, so we can get either a Pokemon or an energy out of our discard back into our hand. 2 copies of Defiance Band. If we're behind on prizes, our attacks now do 30 more damage. 1 copy of Power Glass. At the end of your turn, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to it. Again, this Pokemon tool allows us to not worry so much about having energy in the discard, because we've got ways of getting it back out. And we're going to be using 2 copies of N's Castle. N's Pokemon in play have no retreat cost, which means they can all be retreating for free. And then for the energy, we're going to be using 6 Darkness energy and 2 Reversal energy. Now this deck is very versatile and has lots of different ways of attacking. And N Zoroark's ability to trade, meaning you can discard a card from your hand to draw 2 more, is really useful, because you can also get your energy into the discard pile that way. You can throw away an energy, draw 2 cards, then use an Ends PP up to get the energy straight back out, straight out to one of your Pokemon on your bench. If you play an Ends Castle, you can then retreat for free into an attacker to take a knockout on a Pokemon. Ends Zoroark EX is also really interesting with that Night Joker attack. Being able to choose one of your attacks on one of your other Ends Pokemon is really useful, because you can choose whether you want to use Darmanitan's attack to do some damage to their bench as well. And because again, you don't mind discarding the energy from him because you can get it right back again, especially with Power Glass. Or do you want to do 170 damage with the Ends Reshiram attack? And if you've been damaged by, let's say, a Dragapult doing 120 damage, you can go ahead and use the powerful Rage attack, which means you do 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon, meaning you could do 400 damage if you've taken 200 on Ends Zoroark. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you're planning on using Ends Zoroark EX. Thank you for watching Cinnabar Collectibles today. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you and good night.